I met Gregoire a long time ago. And what is interesting with Gregoire is that I found that not only has he achieved, and he will tell us about his recent achievement, but he has achieved in the direction in which he wanted to achieve. You know, I have many students, for instance, who come to see me, they say, I want to change the world, and then they work as a business consultant or investment banker, and they really forget about their project. And what is interesting is that Gregoire has achieved a lot and is in line with his values. Okay. Now, basically, Gregoire, can you please tell us what you're doing, what your company, what your startup is doing, and don't hesitate to spend 5 minutes so that we understand what you do exactly.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for inviting me. So if I hear well, so here the audience is mainly people looking for, well, thinking about going for MBA in a top school. So I was in UC before, but maybe a little bit about me. So my background is a computer science engineer. I studied that. I graduated in 2007, and since then I've been working mainly as a consultant in IT, and it was great. I mean, I got experts and worked on very complex projects in different companies. But eventually, I felt like something that was lacking in my role, regardless of the different companies I was working on, different projects I was working on. There's a bit of two things. On one hand, I wanted to have a societal or sustainable impact on the environment, and I felt like by going from project to project, I couldn't always relate to what impact I was creating. And on the second hand, I was lacking a little bit of the business experience and the more wider view of the whole value chain I was affecting. So this is when I felt, okay, it's a good moment for me to take a change in my career and explore the opportunity to go for an MBA. So I went to IESE Business School. I graduated in 2017. And I'll not go to the detail, maybe there will be question after, but after I started a company with two other founders in Brussels. So what's the problem that we decided to tackle basically is the problem of water usage in buildings. So actually, if you want to know a little bit about that problem specifically, you have to know that actually 1 building over 3 is experiencing water leakages as we speak. So it's a huge problem, and not many people know about this. And why people don't know about this? Well, because there's nobody really giving you the information of what's happening in your building. So water utilities, as long as you pay your water bill, they're happy. And building owners, they have lots of buildings, or they may have few buildings. They don't really know how to control what's happening in terms of water, or is there wastage or not, etc. So we identified that problem. Actually, my business partner was actually doing this for the city of Brussels before we met. We have developed a technology that is actually monitoring in real time the water consumption in buildings. So it's a sensor that will sort of monitor the consumption, send the data to the cloud, and then we have a software that does artificial intelligence, machine learning on that usage of data or usage of water, and detects different types of discrepancies, such as water leakages, misuse of water through different appliances, could be water softeners, could be heating systems, could be toilets, or you name it. All the appliances that use water. And so this machine learning algorithm will really sort of disaggregate the information for a building manager so that he doesn't even have to look at the graph. He just has to consult our application and see directly what is going wrong in his building and can take action to solve the problem. So for me, this is really like it creates a huge impact, because I'm helping real estate owners or facility managers to save water in their buildings. So as from today, it's been 5 years that we've been starting this company, and today we saved around 5 billion liters of water over 5,000 buildings, more or less. So this is of course a long process. So in the beginning, it was more a lot of R&D as a founder. Like you're figuring out the market, figuring out the products, especially when you're in the hardware business, like we are with sensors. There's a lot of R&D. And then over time, getting to market fit, so talking to customers, understanding the market, who are the different segments, who are the different opportunities, what are the different opportunities, what is the willingness to pay, what is the market traction in different countries, in different, etc., market dynamics. Through that journey, you also get through crisis, whether it's like the crisis of building a startup and all the challenges that comes with it, but also COVID crisis, also now energy crisis, component crisis, and you name it. But it's a whole journey where you learn so much. So I think like talking about entrepreneurship is one of my passion, because it's really making people aware of how much of a learning process this is. And I think this is a way to develop yourself in so many different ways that is very interesting. Is that answering your question? Don't hesitate to
of course.
question.
Yeah, of course. It's very impressive. So the question that I have for you, Gregoire, is that it seems that your idea will help save a lot of water. Maybe it's a bit naive, the question that I have for you, but why have you got only 5,000 clients? Are you trying to develop the company? Are you looking for capital? What future do you see for your company? Because every time when I saw your company and when I saw the problem that you have now with water in Europe, I said to myself that Gregoire is going to be the next success stories in Europe, because obviously it's you're trying to respond to major issues in the West and also in emerging countries. You have plans for the future to
it's a good question.
Million clients?
Hello? It's a good question indeed. So I would say that there are different types of businesses. So either you go in a market that is already mature with either with technology or without technology, and then you develop. Often then you get into what we call a red ocean. So let's say you create a new pizza shop. I mean, then of course, just getting customers is not the biggest deal. It's really finding the place where you have less competition and trying to understand the market. When you get into a business where you bring technology, but you're also creating awareness, nobody's really either aware of the problem, either aware of the technology, you're getting into a blue ocean, you have to create that opportunity. And this is why also there's a lot of work to be done up front to get people understand the problem, convince them there's a problem. And just to give you an example, because examples is the best way to illustrate. We had a customer. It's a huge university in Belgium. They have 600 buildings. And so we reach out to them and say, hey, shall we work together? You definitely may improve your water usage by working with us. So the customer says, look, we don't have leaks, like we don't have this problem. I'm the building manager. I can tell there's no leaks. So we said, oh, okay, you tell this. How about doing a pilot, over 5 buildings? They have 600, so 5 buildings, it's okay. He said, yeah, but fortunately we knew a professor in that university. So the professor says, yeah, I want this data. Can you please accept the pilot? Eventually, we did a little bit of lobbying. The guy accepted the pilot. We went for the pilot. We equipped 5 buildings. 1 week later, after equipping the buildings, I give a call to the guy and say, hey, how is it going? I mean, now that you have installed Shape, are you happy? And the guy says, look, I have a problem now. I discovered that I have over 100,000 euro worth of leak in my building. I cannot go see my management with this because I will look like a fool. So he thought there was no leak. He thought there was no problem with his water management until we actually equipped his building, and they said, oh my God, and this is only 5 buildings. I'm not even talking about the other 595. So this is just to give you an idea of how much of lack of awareness there is in this topic, even though we have like huge water scarcity over the summer, even though there's so much communication about the problem of water, people think, yes, but not in my backyard. Or, they're not so much aware of what are the solutions. Of course, I mean, we're like in a blue ocean, there's not so much competition, and we're evolving here to help people definitely in the reduction of their water. So this is a bit to give you a perspective of why it's really like picking up at some point when you start to have like flagship customers where you can show, hey, I did this city or this huge company, etc. And then it sort of picks up because then they get trust in you. But it's the starting point was really hard to push. Then on the other part of your question on the long-term strategy, definitely our goal as a founder is to create as much impact as possible. I've been joining and working in this company since the beginning because I truly believe in the power of scalability, and in all terms. I mean, creating an NGO, I don't believe this is the way you create the most impact. If you have profitability pressure, you end up also having higher lever for impact. But you have to create, of course, a business model that creates an ecosystem where everyone wins. This is probably the challenge. And so today, well, we are based in Belgium, but we do have customers in France, in the UK, and in Germany. So it's in neighboring countries. We're already preparing for next year, opening up in the US. So that's, of course, a big new market that we will look into. Why? Well, of course, obviously it's a huge market, but on top of that, now they're facing huge problems with water scarcity, especially in countries such as, in states such as California, but also Mexico, and I mean, all North America, mostly West are having big issues with water, and actually this is one of the utility costs that is most expensive. So this is why we want to go there. On the longer run, I mean, our goal, and we have not only revenue objectives, but we also have water saving objectives. This is how we grow little by little in terms of strategy.
So that's where you want to go.
Yes.
Okay, alors, basically another question that I have for you. So the co-founders that you have with you, are they IESE graduate, or they are from how did you meet your business partners?
So my business partner is actually an engineer as well. He's an architecture engineer, and he used to work as an architecture engineer in the city of Brussels as an energy manager. So he was the guy who had the idea, like he was dealing with that problem on a daily basis. He was dealing with energy management in different buildings, managing their water consumption, their heating system, etc. And so he was confronted with that problem of actually dealing with lack of good management for water. And so this is what's interesting is that I did the MBA. I didn't come up with the idea actually of this thing. I ended up after my MBA, attending different events. I went to attending events with business angels because I'm also interested in investing in companies. So I just attended these events. And then one day, this guy is pitching his idea in front of business angels. He was on his own, like he was there just talking about the opportunity, explaining what he already did. He had no customer, or maybe one customer. Was really the beginning. He had like a prototype and was looking for funding. So I approached him. I said, hey, actually, I would love to invest. But in the end, I mean, we went for pizza, drinks, and you know how it goes. He said, but actually, I need a computer science engineer. So I said, well, actually, why not? So I spent the first 3 months sort of helping him with his business plan, the due diligence I was doing with Business Angel, and also preparing or improving his prototype, like with my software skills. And after 3 months, he was like, actually, let's move on together. That's how it started. And I didn't know him whatsoever before. So I think finding an idea is often not the problem, especially when you're coming out of a good school, you have a good network. Basically, you come with a big asset for a startup. And so founders will see that, and they will see, look, you have a network, investors, people who are actually all over the world within big companies. This is something that can help you leverage and accelerate the growth of a company. So, I mean, I think this is something to really put forward.
Okay, so that's an idea. And when you say that you have investors, so your main contribution, so of course you're a manager of the company, is using your skills, your IT skills and your management skills. And have you raised money, Gregoire? You have investors? Are you looking for more investors today?
Yeah, so far we raised 3.5 million euro. And if we go to next year, like an expansion strategy for the US, we will probably also go for a capital round of, I think, between 6 and 10 million euro. So yes, definitely. And I think this is also where it's interesting. I would say just in the beginning of the venture, I was mainly using my software skills because this is where I was needed. But as a founder, you end up doing so many things. And very quickly, actually, I ended up not doing any computer software anymore, but getting more into management positions where I was doing finance. I was taking the role of the CFO, I was taking the role of the COO, I was taking the role of the HR manager, I was taking the role of the legal, etc., etc. Why? Because after the MBA, I got this such a wide overlook of all those different challenges that a company can be in front, that I don't know this by doing it, but I had read so many cases, I had talked with so many students that I kind of was the more skills to deal with these problems. So today, of course, I hired a CFO, I hire an agency to do the legal, etc. But I have this kind of good knowledge and general knowledge of good management of a company, which helps me to really make the company super solid and super scalable. And as opposed to, if you're just a founder, it's the first time you start a company, and many engineers start companies because they have an idea, but they forget about the market. And many people forget about the finance, and many people forget about the legal, and then they get into trouble. And I think this is the sort of also the value that you can create as a well-rounded professional, is that you went through all these cases, you went through all these different you met all these people with a huge network of business professionals. It gives you kind of a luggage that you can take with you and create a more sustainable company, sustainable in financial terms.
Okay, so tell me,
and this is just to add on that, this is creating a company that is much more fundable. And so when you go see an investor, they're like, okay, these guys, they know their shit, they're structured, they have quality financial reports, quality business plan, and everything. And I think this is important to make a sustainable business.
Yes, of course, for sure. And so tell me, so you're saying that the added value of the MBA was mainly to give you knowledge to complement your IT knowledge with business knowledge. Huh? That's what you're saying. And in terms of soft skills, have you already been able to use the soft skills that you have developed at IESE? Hello.
Yeah, so I think the MBA for me went on two sides indeed. So you talked about the hard skills, definitely, and going to classes, reading cases. This is definitely eye opener, and it helps you to acquire lots of skills. But I got a lot involved with clubs. So I was the president of the Entrepreneurship Club. I knew actually from the beginning, from the start, that I had kind of a tendency to be interested in entrepreneurship. Of course, at some point, in an MBA, it's logical to be a little bit lost in translation, and you have this FOMO feeling, the fear of missing out, because you see all these careers opening up, like corporate finance, consulting, and industrial opportunities in big companies, and you're like, oh my God, this also looks shiny. So I also did a little bit of interviews with consulting. I also did a little bit of interviews with financials, corporate banking, etc. But eventually, I quickly understood that if I want to do a little bit like you said in the beginning, do what my dream is, I have to focus. So I focused on entrepreneurship. And by being super involved in clubs, I managed to use during the MBA that network a lot. So not only the students, but also within the city, all the ecosystem about entrepreneurship. I started to organize conferences. I invited over a lot of CEOs to come to talk to students, etc. And so I actually started already to build up my network because I had that hat of president of club. And it actually gave me some kind of notoriety in the city because, I mean, you're of a great university and you have the notoriety of president of the club. These guys, these CEOs, they're much more likely to say, hey, definitely I want to talk to students. So you invite them, you get them around, and it gives me also an opportunity to develop my leadership skills. So it was on one end inviting students, talking to students, getting them, like developing their knowledge about entrepreneurship, getting them understanding what are the sort of the plus and the minus about the entrepreneurship career, etc., etc. Talking with professors, also professors of entrepreneurship, what do they want to convey to students? Because you have these classes, and then you have what's outside of classes. You know, like the clubs program is like led by students. And I was talking to this professor to see how can I, as a president of club, actually make your message or convey your message in another way to get people really understand what it is to be an entrepreneur. So I would say definitely, if you really decide to get the most out of it from an MBA, get involved in many things, because that's the way basically to do it by yourself, and that's the best way to learn these soft skills, like leadership skills, like pedagogy, like I don't know, like influencing, communication, all these things that actually you have to do the more you get involved. It's a unique opportunity, and this is, I can't stress it more actually. During your MBA, it's like a unique opportunity, a unique period of time where you're just in a kind of a bubble, you know, like you're surrounded with super smart people. This is something that almost is unique in your life, because you know, like on a daily basis, when you're in a company, you're mixed. You have like very high top level people, and then you have like average people, and like a big mix. And so when you're at lunch, exchanging with people, you have a little bit of everything. But during that unique time of the MBA, they highly select everyone, and so basically you're surrounded with these people that are very ambitious, usually very smart, and the discussions go wow. And this is also why I would say a year after the MBA, you get a little bit of a back to reality. Oh my God, I mean, that was an intense period, but you only realize it when it's done. So when you're in it, just get the most out of it. It's a unique period in time, and you're building relationship, you're building friendship, you're building a network. It's huge. Yeah, that's the only thing I can say.
Yeah, because basically I was reading your LinkedIn profile. So you have not created Shape directly after the IESE. It took you some time. So basically, what you did, Gregoire, when you went to IESE, you were not like the others applying for jobs in consulting, investment banking. You said to yourself, I go to IESE, and there I will find an idea that they will develop. It was you went to IESE with this mind, or have you looked for jobs when you were at IESE, or you said to yourself, no, I will create my company, I don't want to follow the others? What has been your mind when you've been there?
No, I looked for jobs. I was, as I said, I mean, this kind of a fear of missing out, that like all these guys going for these careers, maybe I should go there as well. So I did a few interviews, but without really finding my sweet spot. And I felt like I had so many super nice conversations with these CEOs and this network that was building, that I felt, okay, I get attracted by this career. So eventually I was also interacting with lots of other MBA interested in entrepreneurship. And so at the end of the MBA, when everyone started applying, actually I started working on a business plan for a startup. It got natural, you know, like with another student, we were working on a startup project. And so just after the MBA, we said, okay, I mean, we're still here, you know, like no urgency. We can take another few months. Like we said to ourselves, okay, before taking the decision whether we want to go back to industry or we want to start our own company, I was with another fellow MBA. We said, okay, we give ourselves 6 months to try something out. And we did. And this is indeed something that, I mean, eventually didn't work, but it was a good experience. So I sat down with that other student, and we started creating that business plan and even working on a product and reaching out to the market. What happened is that after a few months, we felt, okay, there was many difficulties. First of all, there was geographical distance, because I was back in Belgium for family reason. He had to go back to India because he had no visa to stay in Europe for a longer term. So like just that already, and then like different issues on the development side, and we felt like, okay, maybe let's pull the plug. And at that moment, I met my current business partner, and I jumped on the next one.
Okay, which was more in line with your values. So because basically I was explaining that you will come to meet us, And basically, you're a natural lover, Gregoire. So basically, if you have decided to create Shape, Shape is also in line with your common values. Can you explain to us this love that you have for nature and your passion for mountaineering? And do you think that there's a link between Shape and your values and your passion? I think so, personally. But can you tell us how you do that on your own?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that because it wasn't obvious in the very beginning. So what I was doing before the MBA is I had like my computer science career, and then I was a mountaineer on the side. I was a climber. I was a mountain teacher. I did a lot of stuff on the side. So I had kind of two lives, and it really felt like I go out of my skin and I get into another skin. And I had like, like this kind of schizophrenia between two types of Gregoire. And I felt like after the MBA, I don't want to have this anymore. So the MBA was also a 2-year period where I could reflect on this. I actually, it was an opportunity to exchange with other students. Hey, how do you deal with your career? What are your challenges, your passion, etc.? And I reflected and I said, okay, what do I really like in my career as a computer scientist? And what do I really like in my passion of mountaineering? And I came down to, I think, like a common denominator, which was, what I like, what I'm passionate about is adventure. Adventure, it can be in all forms, but I used to go to Himalayas. I used to open new routes, like first routes in China, in the middle of nowhere, climbing routes. I used to, go to the Andes as well to climb 6,000 meters high mountains. I'm kind of this guy who goes for extreme trips, and it's usually, solo, just with my backpack and a friend, and this is where we go. There's no sort of a helicopter come dropping any food. It's just like solo for 3 weeks or something. Like it's kind of a extreme kind of expeditions. And indeed, like what I really like is this adventure. So preparing, organizing, understanding the mountain, understanding where we go, making sure that we prepare against the risk, we checking the weather forecast and everything. Getting very technical, but at the same time also reaching the summit and trying to have that view at the end that is just amazing. And during the MBA,
so you're a natural lover, yeah. And so you're a natural lover, and you have to think that now what you do at Shape is somehow in line with your love for nature. In a way, you want to preserve nature. Yes.
So indeed, there is the nature dimension, and there is the adventure dimension. And adventure is nurtured by the entrepreneurship path. Nature is of course the impact that I'm creating, which was super important for me.
Okay, so tell me now, you tend to be someone who is seen. I've noticed that you're 40 under 40 Belgians. So you see, a lot of our students are from India, so they don't know. Some of them do not even know what Belgium is. I've noticed. So you know what is Belgium's 40 under 40? What type of reward is it? And you find it fair? How have you been selected, and what is it exactly? And how do you?
So the program 40 under 40 is for Belgium is basically a program organized by the Belgian government, but also different big company sponsors. Their goal is to build the leadership of what they call the leadership of tomorrow. So they want to create leaders that are ambitious youngsters, how they call it, or young leaders, to get them to the next level so that they can be the leaders of the big impacts of tomorrow. So people who have this mindset of we are in a changing world, how can we, the VUCA world, that can drive change, that can be influences, and that can help to make the country and even Europe and the world more like a better place. So that was the initial thought of that program. So how did I get into that program? I was identified as a potential participant for this, as I was, of course, a founder of a company. But it's not only entrepreneurs that are in this program. It's also people who are in NGOs, people who are teachers, who are PhDs. You have different types of profiles, but they choose 40 people with very different background who can actually lead the change of tomorrow. And then now, of course, it's very competitive selection to get into that. You have to prove that you made impact through different achievements. So it's important, of course, to explain these. And now I'm following this leadership track where basically I'm in touch with 100 leaders that are currently at high-level positions across Belgium, across different big industries, and they're mentoring us, like the 40 young leaders, towards becoming those influencers of tomorrow. So these guys have like between 60 and 70 years old. They have like their career already back. But now what they want is to pass the torch to the next generation. So this is what the program is about.
Okay, so I was having a look at it, and I saw that there is also Cédric Bovy, who was my student as well, who went to Harvard, and he said, then he was my student. So yes, we have. I'm very proud that we have many students who have been there. I'm sure that there will be many others that are not even 30 years old, for information, by the way, Gregoire, but that you'll see pretty soon in this program.
That's good.
So basically, let me ask you a personal question. So, how do you see your future? You see your future as an entrepreneur, as someone who will have a societal commitment. How do you see the next 10 years?
It's a good question. I think definitely, entrepreneurship is flowing in my veins, so I will not sort of completely divert from that path. But the more I grow in that career, I feel I want not only to create impact myself, but also inspire people to do the same as I do. So I already started doing mentoring. I already started being an investor and going on boards of other companies. I think what I want is to open up the mindset of people towards how do you make impacts and how do you scale, because there are so many great initiatives, so many great talent around there, and probably all of you around the table here do great things. I'm sure about that. But what we are lacking is people who not only do great things but also make it scale, make it a large impact, and that's a little bit what society needs is this next step. So I want to really inspire people more, be in a way or another, whether it's through investments, whether it's through mentoring or others, and of course continuing developing projects. I myself today, we're a company. We target more or less in between 5 to 7 years to exit probably.
You want to exit? You want to exit?
Well,
you don't want to grow the company?
I don't know.
For the next 50 years? No.
It depends, but I see myself not specially. I'm not married to this company. My company is like a human cell. So basically, it's autonomous. It doesn't depend on the founder. It depends on the concept and the people around it. And so what I want is to work on the company, not in the company, and be a little bit like like electron libre, like an electron around this. Of course, I will never completely leave the thing, but make it big and then go make other things big. This is how I see the next 10 years.
So you're a natural entrepreneur, huh? You're a natural entrepreneur. Okay. Can you tell us more? Because now, of course, we have many students who are MBA Center who are interested in IESE. Where have you picked up IESE, and what has been your experience in Barcelona? Can you give us a short summary of your 2 years in Barcelona?
Yes, so I applied actually to 5 universities, 4 of which were in the US and 1 was in Spain. And I chose IESE for many reasons. First of all, because it's highly driven by ethics, and I felt like this is something that is important to me as an engineer, as an impact-driven person. I felt like it's not only about business, it's also about making business in the right way. And this is something that really attracted me at the IESE. Another thing that attracted me is a 2-year program. So in Europe, you also have 1-year programs. I wanted a 2-year program because as I said, it's a unique period in your life. It's a moment where you can take a break. If it's too intense, you end up like being squeezed with work and drinks and all the time. And I was actually already married with my wife, and combining, you know, the level of work that you have to give in the networking plus personal life was a challenge. My wife gave birth of my first child when we were in Barcelona. That was also, you know, taking time, and I wanted to make sure to be there for her. And Barcelona is a very nice place, especially for families. The city is amazing. I mean, and this is also to mention about partners. It's super important when you go for an MBA with a partner that the city is nice and they have good time there. I heard so many stories about, you know, students taking their wife with them or their husbands, being in a city, and then eventually the partner don't manage to make friends. So it's important that the partner also have a great time. It's really important. So yeah, but the city, of course, it's amazing. It's one of the most, I would say, attractive part of, you know, Barcelona. I really recommend. IESE now has also the specialty about entrepreneurship. It's actually driven by me, I think, and a few others previously, but it's really after my intervention as a president of the Entrepreneurship Club, they realized how entrepreneurship is important, and they created what they call now the IESE Entrepreneurship Hub, and they want to drive like a lot of or support a lot of entrepreneurs through that hub. So now they have like this specialty, and I think this is also something I want to stress, is how important it is to choose the school depending on the expertise you want to develop. If you want to get into corporate finance, apply to LBS, apply to Chicago Booth, or to Wharton. I mean, you will get into VC, you will get into Goldman Sachs, you would get into those kind of companies. If you want to work into McKinsey, I mean, probably INSEAD is a great place to go. Stanford, I would say Stanford and IESE probably more on the entrepreneurship side. So yeah, I mean, it's also important that talk to students, see what are their career and why did they make the choice of IESE. But I think IESE is indeed like the reason why I chose them is entrepreneurship, the city, of course, the ethics, yeah. And actually it was also personal choice because it was close to my home. Like Barcelona, the cost of living is much cheaper than the US, and eventually it's something to consider, definitely.
Because you see, Gregoire, I went to interview Pamela Amorin, who is the director of admissions. I don't know if she was the director of admissions at your time. She's the current one. And of course, we visited, because I had not been to IESE since 1998. Imagine the last time I was there, and I gave a report. So I went with my team. We interviewed everybody there. And of course, the campus changed a lot, and I was amazed by the quality of the city, the campus. So you must have had a great time there because the facilities, the level of the teachers is very good. And me, I work a lot with the team in Madrid that has launched the MIM. Okay, so I'm very close to IESE for many reasons. And so I understand it's really a great university. It's a great school, and you see the problem is that the school is not very well known in Asia. You see as well, and that's why it's good that you come. That there are more people like you testifying, because we need to bring along and to make the school better known. Because our students, they know ESSEC, they know ESCP, they know NBS, they know Oxford, but they don't know a lot about IES. Okay, so
I would say if you want to go to do an MBA in Europe, I mean, for me, there are 4 schools that are really on top of the MBAs in Europe. Probably it's INSEAD, LBS, IESE, and HEC. I feel like those 4, I mean, you covered everything. I mean, of course, there are many others, business schools, but if you want to be really the top-notch people and the top-notch potential, I mean, choose these schools.
Yes, of course. Yeah, you see, there are others. You know, Oxford is a very good school as well. Cambridge, Esa Entrepreneurship is also a good school. IE, and we have because we prepare for the IGAT. So fortunately, there are more than 4, but of course, there are 4 elite schools that are ranked in the top 12, top 15 of the Financial Times. So, Gregoire, what are the 3 pieces of advice that you like to give before we finish for our students looking for an MBA, what to look for, what to expect, what to do?
I would say talk to former students. That's of course one thing. Once you have identified the school or the 2-3 schools that you want to go to, talk to former students, check their career, check what they did, why they chose why they chose this type of career, and of course students that are in line with what you dream to do. Especially these type of school, there's more than open to express and explain and take a bit of their time to spend it with you and to give you a piece of advice. So I think, yeah, I really encourage it. I would say it's in an ideal world, I would even say visit a few schools. It doesn't have to be the school, the school that you will get into eventually, but at least get your head around, okay, what is an MBA school? Go to visit a top 10 school and go to a few clubs events, if possible, get yourself invited to give you a feel of, okay, how are the people behaving? How can I connect with this network, etc. And then on the essay part, really get prepared. I think it's an intense work. Don't take it lightly. It's an important work to be done. Reflect on yourself. Actually, for me, it was also a preparation work for myself. I started basically this analysis of myself of what do I want to do at that moment already, and it's only the beginning of the story. So take that work seriously. Do it as thoroughly as possible, and that's it. I think you get your chances.
Okay. So thank you very much, Gregoire. It was very nice to see you. When I'm back in Belgium, I would like to visit your office if you allow me to do so. And I want to congratulate you because what you have done is incredible. Huh? You have achieved something. You do something. You see that I'm also very concerned by environmental issues. And I see that you putting your values into action, which I find is good. And plus, you're doing very well. So thank you very much, Edouard, for this seminar and this ray of hope that you gave to all of us. Okay? Thank you.
My pleasure, and thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you.